Hey, good morning. Well, it's been another whole week, and you all are not going to believe all of the changes in just 1 week in the garden. So you can see behind me here. Let me flip this camera around. You can see a little bit better. The grow room is almost completely empty. I have one shelf that has just a few things on it. And then I have one shelf that has a couple things germinating. And that is all that's left in the grow room. Everything else is outside. So let's go outside and take a look. I'm excited to show you everything that's happened in just 1 week. You'll be surprised. Well, I didn't get out here exactly when I wanted to. I had to go to a soccer game for my grandson. So it is a gorgeous day out here. It was a little cloudy this morning. It would have been perfect for recording, but that's okay. We're going to come on out and do it anyway. It's still beautiful, and it's still a perfect day for working in the garden. So let's go take a look. The green grapes are getting a few more leaves. They're looking great. I still have a bar full of plants. I have tomatoes. I have a few flowers. I have a lot of peppers because I've not planted any peppers yet. They are all still waiting. You've got to wait till it's really warm to plant your peppers. I have went ahead and planted some tomatoes though, so let's go out here and take a look at that. So we've been pretty busy out here in the in-ground garden this week. My husband came out and dug some holes for me, some good deep holes, because if you saw my tomatoes, you know that they were actually pretty tall. You cannot tell it now by looking at them. You see how short they look now? That's because we planted them deep. There's a couple that are not planted quite as deep as the others, but most of them are planted as deep as you can get them. This ground here is pretty hard, so we dig deep and then we amend the hole. We put in compost, calcium, which is the lime. We put in a little bit of magnesium in the form of Epsom salts, and then we also put in a little bit of fertilizer, which is the 10-10-10 variety, and we mix all that together, and then we cover it back up with the topsoil that's already there, and then put a little bit of mulch around each one. I'm also going to put a ground cover in this year. I've never tried that method, but last year we dealt with a lot of weeds, so this year I'm going to try putting some weed barrier down and see how that works. My rose is really taken off. I'm going to work on the raised bed for my rose today, hopefully. The potatoes are really taking off. I mean, they are getting huge. They're growing completely out of that container, and that's okay. That's a good sign. Those are red potatoes. These are my Tatsoi mustard greens, which just might make it to maturity this year. They did not last year. I have not seen any sign of potatoes coming up just yet, but it will not be long. This area with all the straw is where the potatoes are. I've put some bug netting over these because one of the beans is already getting some bug damage on the leaves, so I've got those covered. I've also been planting a few marigolds, and down on the end here I've also got other beans to be planted. Right here in front of the beans are some onions. So I have planted some red onions and some sweet yellow onions. Can you see those? I may have the mulch coming up around them just a little too much. I'm going to walk up here and show you this one tomato plant. You know, I tell you all the time that if you're going to plant tomatoes, to be sure and snip off the blooms when you plant. That way your roots have a better chance to develop, because that's where all of the energy goes. But on this one particular one, I could not do it. And right there's why. It's because they were not just flowers, they were actual tomatoes. This is a Campari cherry tomato. So I did not pluck those off. I let them grow. So we'll see how it does. Sometimes when you do that, the first 2 or 3 that you pick off of the tomato plant are not as flavorful, but it will eventually get there, even if that's true. So we have planted 17 variety of tomatoes so far. I have just a few more to get in the ground. 17 out here in the in-ground bed. I have a couple more that are in the raised bed you're getting ready to see here in just a minute. So far so good. These are doing really well. We planted them on a day that it was kind of cloudy, which is a perfect time to plant anything really. You don't really want to plant tomatoes or any other plant whenever it's really hot outside. The sun, it'll make it real hard on them to get established. So if you're going to plant anything, it's best to do it in the evening or on a day that it's really cloudy and cool. So we actually had a little bit of both. We had a day that was cloudy and cool, and then we done some in the evening. So I've got to show you this Ranunculus flower that is really blooming like crazy. Look at the blooms on that. Oh my goodness. That thing is just gorgeous. I cannot wait till that gets so big that it overruns in the pot. It's going to be amazing. So that's doing great. These are the mustard greens, and they look beautiful. I love all of the color in them. And let's see what the potatoes are doing. There's the Adirondack Blues. They are still looking so good and growing like crazy. This past week I actually had to unroll some of the bag because the plants were coming up out of it so much. And now the Kennebecks have begun to break ground, and you can see them there. They're looking great. The Brussels sprouts have finally started to grow a little bit. They're supposed to be really cold hardy, but this one did not really do much of anything whenever it was colder, so hopefully it'll start to grow now. We'll see. I have yet to grow a successful Brussels sprout plant. So it's been a really busy week, and I have been out here planting flowers too, not just vegetables. And so this new raised bed, I think, looks incredible, you all. This purple verbena makes it look so gorgeous. I cannot wait till these grow up a little bit and mature some. Let me flip the camera around. Look at all those gorgeous flowers. I planted the verbena, the marigolds. I planted a ranunculus, which is that one there on the right. Some snapdragons, and the sunflowers were already in there. It'll take them a little while to mature, but it's looking great. The bed behind it, I've got the purple kale. I've already shown you that before. It has not done a whole lot of growing this past week, but I've also planted a tomato in here. This is the black strawberry tomato that everybody tried to get from me this year, and I pretty much run out, so I started some other stuff. I don't think I started more of the black cherries, the black strawberries, but I did start some other tomatoes. And let's see. That one is the Petite Gris de Rennes that I am so excited about. That one was so delicious last year. It would knock your socks off. And over here with the toy gun, grandchildren have been here. Over here I've got a couple of potatoes that are volunteers. I did not know there was a couple potatoes left behind. So when you harvest potatoes, if you leave even a little teensy tiny one behind, the next year it will grow. And so that's what's happened here. I've probably left a couple little small ones in the pot after harvesting the potatoes. And so now they're going to make me some more potatoes, and that's great. I love volunteers. Just getting one more shot of that verbena. I love that thing. It is just so beautiful. Gorgeous. Here are the Norlan Reds, and they are really growing too. It's probably time to put a little bit of soil or straw up around those to encourage them to continue to grow. And those are looking really good. There's the blueberry from last year, and there's the blueberry from this year, and they're both looking good, doing really great. Still have a few things in the greenhouse. Most of this is stuff that people have bought, the tomatoes anyway, and then I have just a few things in here that I still need to plant, mainly melons. And then I have a few flowers that I picked up at Lowe's. I have a strawberry plant, and then some daisies. So these things need to be planted as well. And I also have some sweet potatoes that I'm going to put in this year. The first year that I did sweet potatoes, they done really wonderful. So I'm going to try my hand at them again this year. I do not do my own potato slips. I like to just buy them. So switch this around. I've still not fixed the plastic in this bed, but this is the cauliflower. That's not really doing too great. This is the melon that the frost got about a week or so ago, and I thought that it had killed it, but it has not. It's got some new growth on it, if you can see that. See the new growth? I had to put a bug net over that because anytime a plant is sick, the bugs will attack. There's a sunflower that I've planted in the middle of these. That is going to be some squash. And I have the German Johnson tomato. And I finally finished filling up this bed. This is the second bed that I have done. I finished filling it up this week and went ahead and done some planting in this one. So I've got a melon in this one. I think that might be the sweet orange. I'm not really sure. I don't see a marker. I'm bad about losing markers, y'all. I don't see a marker anywhere. Oh well. We'll figure out what it is when it produces some fruit. These are the pots that my husband put in the ground for me. That's a melon. That's also a Petite Gris de Rennes. This is another pot that I thought the frost had killed, but this one has started having some new growth on it as well. So I've covered it up with an insect net. Now the bees don't like that, but I'll get them uncovered in time for the bees to do plenty of pollinating. But for now, they need to be protected until they are in a very healthy state. And this is another melon of some sort. So it has to either be the Moon and Stars or the tender sweet orange, because I think that's all that I had this year. That's all I started. And this is my purple grapes. It's called a Noble, and it is finally starting to get some growth on it. I keep saying I'm going to move these raspberries and blackberries, but I have still not done it. This is the Raspberry Heritage, and it's just growing like crazy. And this is the blackberry. And last but not least, my trees. It's starting to get some more blooms. Well, I don't think the Fuji is blooming at all, but it's getting a lot of leaf growth on it. So I finally have some stuff in the garden, y'all. I'm so excited, I cannot hardly wait. The tomatoes, I've got all of them in, but just a couple. I've got some cucumbers going. The peppers are getting ready to be put out, so I'm excited, you all. A lot of things happening in the garden. It's starting to get real exciting. So that is all of this garden tour. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope that you all have been doing your gardening and getting everything in place. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. God bless you.